Our story begins at mealtime, where Qin Jun is told to stop looking around and hurry up. Old Zhang, it's already come to this, he sighs. How could I possibly have an appetite? Old Zhang isn't having it, telling him that even if he doesn't eat, he should at least sit up straight. He scolds him for looking spineless, wondering how he'll explain such a sight to the superiors if they see him. Qin Jun relents, deciding to give him some face since this is his last meal at the Jiangxing facility. Suddenly, a guard calls out his number, 9527, and tells him to stand up for a formal announcement. The news is grim. His application for release has been denied. Naturally, Qin Jun reacts with pure fury. The guard simply repeats himself. He won't be leaving this year and must remain here for further review. Qin Jun is stunned. By all accounts, his record was clean and his time was served. But the guard claims it's an order from above that requires no explanation, leaving him to maintain order here. Old Zhang tries to comfort him, telling him not to overthink it and to just finish his meal. We see the weight of the situation in Qin Jun's eyes as he stares at the small town beyond the walls. Old Zhang suggests filing another application tomorrow, hoping that perhaps this time it might actually work. He speculates that the higher-ups might have other considerations, but Qin Jun's mind is already elsewhere. He realizes that if he doesn't take matters into his own hands, he might never be free again. He asks for something specific, certain that this sudden rejection of his release is no simple accident. Deep down, he suspects this is connected to the very people who framed him and sent him here years ago. And so, he decides it's time to try a different, far more dangerous approach. The risks are high, but given the current situation, if he doesn't take this gamble, he's trapped. He knows that if he stays, he'll never leave. It was the same a year ago, and it's happening again. Old Zhang explains that he's already arranged for people on the outside to prepare a new identity, provided Qin Jun can survive this ordeal. If he succeeds, he will finally be free. We learn that while this pill is nicknamed the Ghost Spirit Doll, its nature is far more scientific. Before being sent here, Old Zhang had it tested. It's primarily composed of high-concentration barbiturate sedatives. He warns that if the dosage isn't controlled perfectly, taking this medicine could lead to a very real tragedy. Furthermore, if those people outside don't follow the extraction plan exactly, he could be in serious trouble. To be honest, it's a terrifying gamble. Qin Jun tells him not to worry, agreeing with Brother Kale that if he doesn't take this risk, he'll likely never leave. He figures it's life or death now, promising that if he successfully makes it out, he will handle their affairs as well. But first, he intends to hunt down the people who destroyed his family and left him to rot for 5 long years. Old Zhang tells him that if he truly succeeds, he'll have everything he needs to settle those old scores. He'll be able to use all the resources they've left behind on the outside, though that depends entirely on his own resilience. It all comes down to whether his luck is strong enough to survive. Qin Jun simply replies that his life has always been tough. Otherwise, he notes, he would have died the very first day he entered Linhadayu, instead of staying to learn their many skills. He only hopes that his luck holds out for just a little bit longer, which, naturally, is easier said than done. With the decision made, he tells them that he is leaving the rest of the plan in their hands. He places his trust in the 5 of them to see the scheme through to the end. There's no time to waste now. They must act according to the plan and move quickly to avoid suspicion. They have to ensure no one spots the deception. After a tense moment of preparation, they decide the time is finally right. If he gets out, these skills will surely help him. Suddenly, the guards begin shouting for Zhang Guanjiao as chaos erupts. The inmates cry out in panic, claiming that Qin Jun has suddenly stopped breathing right before their eyes. They swear they don't know what happened, explaining that he just laid down and stopped responding to their calls. The guards shout that he's stopped breathing, ordering the others to clear the way and rush him to the infirmary immediately. They reach the medical wing, and the officer is told to wait outside while the doctors take over. The medical team prepares the defibrillator, calling for a shot of adrenaline as they fight to stabilize him. A little later, the doctor steps out to find Zhang Guanjiao waiting for news. With a heavy sigh, the doctor simply says they did everything they could. The EKG remains a flat line with no sign of life, and so, they officially declare his clinical death. Warden Tian is stunned, demanding to know how a young man could suddenly drop dead like that. The guard explains that after Ma Jia announced his parole was rejected, Qin Jun became extremely agitated and returned to his cell. Shortly after, his cellmates found him breathless. They rushed him to the clinic, but despite the doctor's best efforts, he couldn't be saved. Warden Tian turns his fury on Ma Jia, demanding to know what on earth is going on. Ma Jia reminds him that this kid was the high-profile convict from years ago. If he had been released, they might have faced serious trouble. The warden scoffs, noting there are plenty of convicts, then realizes this was the boy from the barbecue stall incident. Ma Jia confirms it, suggesting that since the death has already happened, it might actually be a stroke of luck for them. He proposes using their old method to handle the body quietly, which would satisfy the powerful people watching the case. The warden agrees, ordering him to handle it personally and ensuring there are absolutely no mistakes this time. Ma Jia notes it's only 8 o'clock and things are a bit rushed, suggesting it would be better to wait until later tonight. The warden leaves the matter in his hands, emphasizing that it must be done right. Ma Jia gives his word. Meanwhile, we see a figure struggling with the weight of the situation, wondering how to explain this to the family. Suddenly, Qin Jun's eyes snap open. He curses in confusion, wondering where he is and why it's so freezing cold. The sharp scent of formaldehyde fills the air. He realizes with a shock that old Zhang's crew has left him in the morgue. He grumbles about those idiots following the rules. Couldn't they just bury him in the back hills? Instead, they left him here to freeze. The morgue is freezing, and with the heavy rain outside, he realizes he needs to figure out a way to get out of here. Meanwhile, we hear Ma Jie complaining about the slow pace, reminding his companion that they are on duty tonight and need to hurry. The other guard insists they already handled the kid, noting that since the doctor declared him dead, there is nothing to worry about. Ma Jie remains skeptical, thinking the boy is far too slippery. It's just too convenient that he died right after his parole was denied. He decides he must check the body personally to be sure, telling the other guard to stay outside and wait. Ma Jie orders him to guard the door and not to enter no matter what he hears. The guard, naturally, promises to keep watch. He warns that it's best to keep it that way, as in their line of work, knowing too much can cost a man his head. Inside, Qin Jin mocks Ma Jie's thoroughness. Suspecting the man is terrified, he might actually crawl back out of a grave. He feels the silicone clay on his back, intended to mask his features, and realizes just how carefully this accident was planned. It was a clever touch, to be honest, but he knows that if Ma Jie realizes this death is a sham, things will get ugly. He tells himself that if Ma Jie discovers the truth, he won't hesitate to be just as ruthless as the men who put him here. Ma Jie approaches the body, muttering about the suspicious timing of the boy's death so soon after the rejection. He admits he doesn't care how the boy did it, or whether this is some elaborate trick to play dead. To Ma Jie, the only thing that matters is that the boy stays dead this time, one way or another. He leans in close, his shadow looming over the cold slab, where Qin Jun lies perfectly still. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut, as Ma Jie prepares to ensure there are no more surprises. He begins his final inspection, moving with a cold, practiced efficiency that suggests he has done this many times before. 1, 2, 3. The seconds tick by in the silence of the morgue. Deep down, Qin Jun knows he won't be staying down for long, regardless of what Ma Jie has planned. Qin Jun adjusts his breathing, focusing on the plan he set in motion himself. He never imagined he would actually end up in this situation, waiting for his own redemption in a morgue. But it's fine. So far, he's winning this dangerous game of life and death. Outside, another guard arrives and asks why he's standing there, only to be told Ma Jie is inside checking the body. The newcomer is baffled, wondering why anyone would bother inspecting a corpse at this hour. He grumbles about the pointlessness of it all before calling out to Ma Jie through the door. He demands Ma Jie open up so he can see what on earth is taking so long in there. Ma Jie is warned to turn around and leave it be, or his friends won't be able to help him later. The guard nearly jumps out of his skin, cursing Ma Jie for the sudden scare and asking what he's doing. He calls Ma Jie a fool, insisting that since the boy is dead, there's no need to worry about suspicious details. The plan is simple: bury the body and be done with it, especially now that old Zhang's men have been reassigned. With their own people guarding the perimeter, he urges Ma Jie to finish the job before anything else goes wrong. Ma Jie agrees to handle it immediately, and as they part ways, we see the weight of the situation settle. The guard reminds him that they are counting on him, wondering just how Ma Jie intends to proceed. Wait, something is changing. Qin Jun realizes that even the smallest detail in this plan must be executed perfectly. It seems everything was calculated from the start, beginning with the moment he chose that young man, Shao Kai. And from that point on, the pieces began to fall into place. But as the stakes rise, the pressure to keep the secret becomes almost unbearable. He is warned not to make a single mistake, though he reminds them this isn't his first time handling such matters. To him, this is just another small task that needs to be finished, or so he tells himself. The guard tells Ma Jie to go and keep watch by the warden's office to ensure no one sees them, while Ma Jie urges him to return quickly. Qin Jin can't help but think how surreal this is. He never imagined he would actually be leaving Lingyi in such a bizarre fashion. It seems fate is truly unpredictable, especially when it comes to the plans of someone like Fu Yuyu. He muses that Ghost Face was certainly thorough, likely fearing that Qin Jun might be discovered after crawling out of his own grave. The man had even gone so far as to stick silicone clay to his back to help him change his appearance later, a thoughtful touch, in a morbid way. Ma Jie thinks to himself that if he doesn't realize the boy is faking his death, all will be well, but if he finds out, things will get ugly. He tells himself not to feel guilty for being cold-hearted, noting how suspicious it is that the boy died the very night his release was denied. It's quite a coincidence, really, but Ma Jie decides he doesn't care how the boy managed to pull this off. Whether he's actually dead or just faking it doesn't matter. Ma Jie is determined to make sure he stays dead this time. He looks at the body, convinced that the boy is truly just putting on an act. If he is faking his death, Ma Jie decides that it won't change the final outcome anyway. He prepares himself, knowing that the boy is about to be completely under his control. Outside, another guard asks if everything is all right inside, and Ma Jie coldly assures him that there are no problems. He orders the guard to keep a strict watch and let no one in, a command the subordinate quickly accepts. Ma Jie looks down at Qin Jin, thinking that the boy surely never expected to end up in this position today. Deep down, Qin Jun feels a sense of relief. So far, his dangerous gamble is actually working. A newcomer arrives and asks why the guard is standing there, only to be told that Ma Jie is inside conducting a final inspection. The guard is skeptical, wondering why anyone would be bothered to inspect a cold corpse at an hour like this. He begins calling out to Ma Jie, questioning the point of the inspection while the night grows deeper. He demands that Ma Jie open the door so he can see for himself what is taking so long in there. Inside the room, the tension is thick as the guard demands Ma Jie turn around immediately, or else. He warns Ma Jie not to force his hand, asking what on earth he thinks he's doing in such a restricted area. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts entirely as something unexpected begins to unfold between them. The conversation turns to survival, mentioning the harsh reality of the fishing grounds they all fear. It seems the great devil has already made them suffer enough for one lifetime. With a sense of urgency, they realize it is time to move before things get even worse. The moment of truth has arrived. They need to get out of this flood of trouble before they are swept away entirely. Ma Jie gives a cold, final order: hurry up and bury the body as quickly as possible. He adds a stern warning for the guard to keep his mouth shut if he values his life. The subordinate hands over the keys, reminding Brother Ma that the warden expects a quick and flawless return. Ma Jie dismisses the concern, noting that this isn't his first time handling such a small matter. He instructs the guard to keep watch by the warden's office to ensure they aren't spotted by anyone. The guard agrees, urging Brother Ma to be quick, while Qin Jun can't believe his luck. To be honest, it's a bit surreal. He never imagined he'd actually be leaving Lingi in such a bizarre way. We see that fate is truly unpredictable, especially when it involves the complex plans of Fu Yuyu. Qin Jun muses on the absurdity of it all, escaping this place by pretending to be a cold corpse. It really was a stroke of luck, though things would have been far more difficult if not for one detail. If Ghostface hadn't stuck those silicone pads to his back, he likely would have ended up dead for real. Now, he finally has a chance to go home, even if the road ahead remains incredibly treacherous. The location is utterly desolate and hidden from any prying eyes, making it the perfect spot for a secret burial. Although it lies outside the Lingi Grand Canal, it falls under the jurisdiction of the Great Mansion, far from the warden's reach. In a place like this, no one would ever dream of searching through the dense, dry woods for a hidden grave. The air there is thick with the scent of ancient earth and wild flora, a silent witness to many forgotten secrets. As the light fades, the prison's sands seem to shift, clearing the stage for the final act of this grim business. There is a strange, elegant joy in seeing a plan finally come together, or so they tell themselves. Ma Jie, it's safe to say you've done plenty of questionable things in your life, and this time is no different. You only ended up in this mess because you tried to get rid of me first, so let's not pretend either of us is a saint. In this game, if you lose, you might as well throw your head to the wind and let it fly away. The trigger has been pulled, and there is no turning back now. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hits Qin Jun, and he wonders what on earth is happening to his body. He tells himself that things cannot go wrong now, not when he is so incredibly close to freedom. He knows that if he loses consciousness, every bit of progress they've made will be completely wasted. If he falls asleep here, he might never wake up again. He absolutely cannot let his eyes close. He desperately tries to focus, searching for any excuse or reason to keep his mind from slipping away. His breathing becomes heavy, but he knows that in just a few more hours, the shift will change. If he can just hold on a little longer, he will finally be able to vanish into the dawn. Meanwhile, back at the facility, Zhongli grows anxious, wondering why Ma Jie has been gone for so long. He asks if there is any news from Ma Jie's side, but the calls go unanswered, which is never a good sign. The warden suggests that perhaps someone should go check on him, just in case something has actually gone wrong. The order is clear: go quickly and return just as fast, as there is no time to waste. He understands perfectly and instructs his subordinate to do exactly as he says, buy the necessary items locally and handle it quietly. No one else can know about this, and once he returns, he must process the paperwork immediately to ensure no one spots a single flaw. He warns him to be careful, muttering about how parents always worry, a rare moment of sentiment, perhaps. It's cursed luck, really. In the short time it took to sell a body, how could Ma Jie have suddenly dropped dead? He curses his luck, thinking that if he hadn't been so focused on appearances and had left earlier, things might be different. With no word from his uncle, he realizes they've sent Xiao Li to investigate the situation, a development that could ruin everything. He tells himself he absolutely cannot let them discover he is still alive, or his life will be completely over. He reflects on how Ma Jie used to act so arrogant and untouchable, never imagining the man would end up like this. To be honest, seeing such a powerful man fall so low is a sight he never expected to witness. He calls him a useless waste, but panic sets in as he wonders what is about to happen next. If his identity is exposed, even someone as dim-witted as Xiao Li will realize this Ma Jie is a total fraud. And if that happens, we can only imagine the cruel treatment that awaits him as the wind begins to howl. Xiao Li grumbles about having to clean up this messy disaster in the middle of the night, cursing his luck. Deep down, the protagonist repeats a single mantra: he must survive, no matter the cost. Shaoli mutters to the corpse that leaving Ma Jia out in the wild was the warden's command, not his own. He tells the ghost to seek its revenge elsewhere, far away from him. Despite the high-tech odds stacked against him, he refuses to die before he gets his revenge. Against all probability, he realizes with a surge of adrenaline that he has actually survived. If the heavy rain hadn't made the soil cling together, and if he hadn't carved out a tiny pocket of air, he would be dead. He realized with a shudder that he truly would have been buried alive in this mud. By some strange twist of fate, he survived the ordeal, and now, if he can just settle things here, he will be completely free. The orders from above require no explanation, but he curses them anyway, swearing to settle this debt sooner or later. He vows to make them pay, focusing his mind as he prepares to unleash his tactical strength. 10,000 pounds of force. 10,000 pounds of force, striking again and again with relentless power. He pushes himself to the limit, the sheer weight of his resolve manifesting in every strike. With one final burst of strength, he breaks through, seeking out the contact Kaleji mentioned for internet access. The man looks at him in shock, asking if he is Qin Jun, the Mr. Qin he was told to expect. He can hardly believe it, stammering that Qin Jun actually succeeded in his impossible task. Qin Jun cuts him off, stating he needs clean clothes and the identification Kaleji promised would be ready. The man confirms everything has been ready for a year, handing over the package as Qin Jun offers a brief thanks. He asks if there is anything else Mr. Qin needs, and Qin Jun tells him to send a message to Kaleji. The message is simple, tell them he has come back to life. He tells himself it's time to move on and change into the clean clothes, one set for his old self and one for Qin Jun. Looking at the new documents, he notes they are perfect. It's time to head out and put this plan into motion. The craftsmanship is impressive, showing no flaws whatsoever, which allows him to find a place to settle down and prepare. It is time to investigate the truth behind his imprisonment. Since conventional methods failed, he will use unconventional ones. If reason won't work, he tells himself, then there is no longer any need to be reasonable. He notices there has been no news of him being wanted, nor any report on Ma Jie's death, meaning they haven't realized the body is gone. The bodies have completely vanished, following their usual pattern. It seems they've been hiding the truth for 2 days now. Once the news finally breaks, he tells himself he will truly be free at last. He has already waited 5 long years. Another 2 days won't make any difference now. 5 years of deep sleep. It seems his estimation of the situation was correct after all. Yes, he hadn't been mistaken in the slightest. Since his old identity has been completely erased, he decides it is finally time to collect some old debts. This silicone mask is incredibly stifling, so he peels it off to breathe a bit easier. A new life and a new beginning. And for him, that starts with a simple meal at a grill. He orders 10 skewers each of beef and lamb, but the owner bluntly says they don't open until 2. The chef and staff haven't arrived yet, so if he wants to eat, he'll have to come back after 3. He calmly says he's in no rush and will just wait, which clearly irritates the owner. The man snaps again that he should return after 3, but Qin Jun simply repeats his intent. He is perfectly fine waiting a while, much to the other man's growing confusion. Since the employees haven't arrived yet, he suggests that he and Boss Tan should have a little chat. The owner, feeling cornered, warns him not to try anything or he'll call the police. He wonders aloud if the police would really arrest a man just for wanting a few skewers of meat. In 5 years, this humble roadside stall has somehow moved to the city center and become quite famous. He offers a mockingly impressed click of his tongue, noting how well Boss Tan has done for himself. The owner trembles, pleading that he's just a small businessman, but Qin Jun tells him to relax. He claims he just wanted a meal and to ask a few questions about things that happened years ago. He hopes Boss Tan will be honest, leaving the man stammering about what he could possibly want to know. Qin Jun leans in, mentioning he heard a story about how Boss Tan's niece was assaulted by a drunkard 5 years ago. He recalls how the owner swore a solemn oath before a judge to testify, and now, he asks if the niece can be called out. He expresses a curious desire to meet her, but Boss Tan quickly interrupts, claiming she has already moved on. The owner explains she is married and no longer lives there, which Qin Jun finds to be quite a pity. Since she isn't around, he suggests that Boss Tan should either call her or provide her address for a personal visit. When the owner hesitates, Qin Jun's tone shifts, coldly warning that he doesn't like repeating himself. Suddenly, the door swings open as a group of rowdy men enters, calling out to Old Tan in their usual loud manner. They demand 50 skewers of beef and lamb, along with some beer, telling the owner to just bring the usual spread. The leader barks at the stunned owner to stop dazing off and get to the grill immediately, and the man nervously obeys. The thugs boast about handling some drunks from the day before, assuring the owner they won't be coming back. They remind him to pay this month's protection fee after they eat, as the leader, Brother Fei Ying, takes a seat. Boss Tan tries to scurry away to the grill, but Qin Jun tells him to stay put, asking if he gave him permission to leave. One of the thugs snaps at Qin Jun, calling him a brat, while Qin Jun gives the owner one last chance to speak. The thug grows furious that he's being ignored, swearing as he demands to know who Qin Jun thinks he is. Qin Jun calmly explains he has private business with Boss Tan and has no desire to start a conflict with them. This draws a round of mocking laughter from the group, who find the idea of private business in their territory hilarious. Fei Ying declares that on this turf, Boss Tan's business is his business, and any word should be directed to him. He orders Old Tan to go back to the skewers, promising that he will handle the rest of this situation personally. Boss Tan tries to warn Fei Ying, but the thug just dismisses him, wondering why he's so worried about this random kid. Qin Jun addresses the leader by name, Fei Ying, advising him that this doesn't concern him and he'd best stay out of it. The thug sneers, asking if the kid has lost his mind to speak to brother Fei Ying with such utter lack of respect. He threatens to cut out his tongue, urging Fei Ying not to waste words and simply show this brat a lesson he won't forget. With a mocking laugh, the leader warns him not to push his luck, as he is quickly losing what little patience he has left. He gives one final command: get out now, or face the consequences of staying. Qin Jun remains unmoved, repeating for the last time that this is a private matter between him and Boss Tan. He advises them to leave while he is still in a relatively good mood, which, to be honest, won't last much longer. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind showing them exactly how fragile their skulls can be when they meet the pavement. The thugs look at him in disbelief, convinced that this young man is practically begging for a world of trouble. They begin to circle him, their intentions clear as the tension in the small shop reaches a breaking point. Fei Ying barks the order to attack, telling his men to stop waiting and show this kid what happens to those who defy them. Qin Jun notes their enthusiasm and decides to meet it in kind, hoping they are actually prepared for what comes next. The thugs lunged forward, determined not to let him off easy, but Qin Jun had already seen through their clumsy movements. Since they are so insistent on a fight, he decides it is time to stop being polite and starts to move with lethal precision. He sidesteps their blows with ease, calmly remarking that they are far too slow to even graze his clothes. He boasted that he was faster than any bullet, demanding his opponent kneel if he didn't want to die. The leader begins a countdown, but Qin Jun simply repeats his earlier observation with a cold, steady gaze. He tells them once more that their speed is simply pathetic, and before they can react, he strikes back. With the thugs on the floor, he asks Fei Ying if he still thinks Boss Tan's business is his own concern. Fei Ying stammers that they belong to the Ihu gang and protect this shop, asking if he really intends to challenge them. Qin Jun scoffs, mentioning he's heard of flying tigers, but as for this Ihu gang, he's never heard of them in his life. Qin Jun leans in, asking if Fei Ying still believes that Boss Tan's business is any of his concern. The thug quickly changes his tune, stammering that it isn't. Boss Tan's affairs have absolutely nothing to do with him anymore. Qin Jun notes that this is much better, though he wonders why the man felt the need to act like such a tough guy earlier. He scoffs at the sight of the gun, remarking that playing with weapons like that is really just an invitation for a beating. He gives a simple command: take your men and get out of here. But he isn't quite finished with his instructions yet. He warns them that if he hears any more of that pathetic wailing, he'll personally ensure they lose every tooth in their heads. As they scramble away, he tells them to close the door behind them. He and Boss Tan have a long overdue conversation to finish. Boss Tan trembles, asking what he wants and even threatening to call the police. A desperate move, to be sure. Qin Jun calmly suggests he go ahead, noting that he'd be happy to tell the officers all about the illegal firearms involved today. He wonders aloud if Fei Ying's gang would ever forgive the man for bringing the law down on their heads. Terrified, Boss Tan begins to beg, pleading for mercy and asking Qin Jun to just let him go. Qin Jun's expression hardens as he asks why the man didn't think about mercy all those years ago when the roles were reversed. He looks around at the remaining thugs, asking if anyone else is feeling brave enough to stand up for the boss. We see him turn his full attention back to Tan, promising that his treatment will be far more special than what the thugs received. He repeats the promise with a chilling calm, assuring the man that their chat will be a very memorable experience. He begins to bind the man's arms with a rope, moving with a terrifyingly gentle precision as he prepares to move him elsewhere. He tells Tan not to be so afraid, claiming, with a hint of irony, that he is actually a very kind and gentle person. The pressure finally breaks the man. Tan cries out that he will talk and reveal everything he knows. Qin Jun advises him to be as detailed as possible and hide nothing, unless he wants to face the inevitable consequences. Tan finally confesses that 5 years ago, the police report and his testimony in court were not things he did of his own free will. He scoffs, admitting he was merely a puppet following orders from the Chen family, who instructed him exactly what to say in court. Qin Jun presses him, asking which Chen family he means, only to learn it is the powerful family behind the Hua group. We see his surprise when Tan confirms it is indeed the wealthiest family in Jiangcheng. The question remains, why would they target him? Tan insists he has no idea why they framed him, explaining that back then, he was just a simple street vendor running a barbecue stall. Someone approached him with an offer to make some quick cash, and naturally, he found the temptation impossible to resist. The stranger promised that if he simply followed the script, he would receive 1 million, a life-changing sum for a street vendor. He claims he tried to refuse at first, but in the end, the lure of the money was simply too much for him to handle. Qin Jun is skeptical, questioning how a man who was too scared to look people in the eye knew the Chens were behind it. He wonders if the man is just spinning a tall tale, but Tan desperately insists he wouldn't dare lie to Brother Chun. Tan explains that while he didn't know at first, the bank account that sent the money belonged to the Manhwa catering group. Most people wouldn't recognize the name, but back at the barbecue stall, a neighbor who owned a My Dang G franchise loved to brag. That man used to tell him that grilling skewers was a waste of time compared to joining a big franchise like his. He boasted that the burgers and fries were all pre-made and easy to serve, and that the business was a core part of the Manhwa group. It was during those conversations that Tan learned Manhwa was actually a fully owned subsidiary of the massive Hua group. And so the truth comes out. Shinjin remarks on how cold-blooded the man was to sacrifice his own niece's reputation for a mission. He demands to see the woman involved, suggesting it's time they finally met face-to-face to settle the score. Tan begs for mercy once more, claiming he has no way to bring the woman here even if he wanted to. To be honest, his excuse sounds pathetic. He claims he has never even met the woman himself, so he can't produce her. Shinjun finds this absurdity hard to swallow. If neither of them ever met, he wonders how his DNA was supposedly found on her. Tan can only stammer in fear, swearing that he truly doesn't know the answer to that particular mystery. Shinjun stares him down, demanding to know why he was given such a specific and damning role in the setup. The weight of the deception hangs heavy in the air as the truth begins to surface. It seems the entire trial was a carefully orchestrated performance, with every actor playing their part to perfection. And naturally, the consequences of that performance were devastating. Tan continues to spill everything he knows, desperate to appease the man he once helped destroy. He reveals that Wang Li lives in the Xiwan district, though he rarely goes home, spending his days with the urban management team. At night, he usually heads to the Huanghai Bay baths with his men to gamble the evening away. Shinjun listens closely, noting with a cold irony that Wang Li has clearly enjoyed quite a promotion over the years. Ever since that fateful incident, Wang Li has been serving as the captain of the urban management squad. It seems everyone profited from his downfall. Tan got his million to start a large barbecue stall. Meanwhile, Wang Li climbed the social ladder on Shinjun's back while he rotted in a prison cell for 5 long years. The injustice of it all is almost poetic, and Tan can only tremble, begging Brother Chin for a mercy he doesn't deserve. Shinjun scoffs at the plea, wondering why he should show any leniency after his life was stolen from him. He asks who will give him back those 5 years of lost time, a question with no easy answer. He tells Boss Tan that after profiting from his misery for so long, it is finally time to settle the debt. Outside, the thugs realize the kid is still inside and rally their courage, shouting that they must have their revenge today. Shinjun hears them and smirks. If they are so eager to come back and seek their own ends, he won't stand in their way. He tells Boss Tan that he originally planned to leave him in a vegetative state, but since guests have arrived, he's changed his mind. He decides to leave the man with just enough breath to watch his own downfall unfold with his own eyes. He warns Tan that this might hurt a bit and tells him to endure it, as he cannot afford to move right now. We see Shinjun explain that a disposable lighter in a microwave usually takes about a minute to explode. He decides to play a little game, setting the timer to 1 minute, a generous offer in his eyes. If the lighter doesn't blow, or if Tan can explain the situation to Flying Eagle's crew before they burst in, then his little arrangement will have been for nothing, and their business will be settled regardless of Tan's fate. With a final wish of good luck to Boss Tan, he prepares to make his exit. To be honest, luck is all Tan has left. He leaves the rest to fate, walking away as the tension in the room reaches its breaking point. It turns out that modern lighters are much lower quality than the ones he saw in prison, which is unfortunate for Tan. After only 40 seconds, the microwave erupts, and Shinjun considers the debt officially paid in full. He feels no guilt for their deaths. In his mind, old Tan had long since forfeited his right to mercy. As for thugs like Flying Eagle, he sees their end as a simple act of cosmic justice for the weak they bullied. Now, it is time to find the urban management captain and settle the next item on his list. We see him utilize a silicone disguise, the ghost face technique, which completely alters his features and, surprisingly, is waterproof. This makes his infiltration much simpler, and he warns his enemies, silently, of course, that their turn is coming soon. He intends to settle every single account, arriving at the bathhouse where an attendant asks if he'd like to relax. The attendant promises a professional massage that is guaranteed to satisfy, but Shinjun has other plans. He politely declines the offer, as that particular kind of service holds no interest for him today. Instead, he mentions hearing about a place far more interesting than a simple massage parlor. He expresses a desire to see this hidden side of the establishment, but the attendant quickly plays dumb. The man insists they are a legitimate bath center with no gambling, but Shinjun knows better and offers a bribe. He hands over 2,000 as a service fee, asking for a bit of cooperation to get where he needs to go. Shinjun suggests he might just take his questions elsewhere, prompting the attendant to quickly lead him inside with a warning to follow orders. He is told not to wander off or speak out of turn, and to remember his new identity for the evening. He is to be a wealthy businessman from out of province, visiting Jiang City for a project, a role he accepts with ease. The scale of the hidden operation is truly unexpected as the attendant leads him toward the entrance of the amusement zone. Before he can enter and enjoy himself, however, he is informed that a VIP card costing 100,000 yuan is required. The attendant asks if he brought enough cash, to which Qingjin replies that money is no object as long as the fun is worth it. He asks if they accept cards inside, and the attendant assures him that they most certainly do. The transaction is completed, and with a polite wish for a pleasant evening, Qingjin is officially welcomed into the fold. A hostess greets him, noting it is his first time, and requests that he store all communication devices here for security. Once his phone is tucked away, she offers to guide him through the final steps of activating his VIP membership. Inside, the atmosphere is frantic. We hear a gambler cursing his luck after the house wins 17 times in a row. The man refuses to believe his streak can stay this bad, while Qingjin spots his target, Wang Li, across the room. He decides that tonight, he and Wang Li are going to have a very long talk. The hostess explains how to exchange chips. She hands him the VIP card, now loaded with 100,000 yuan, granting him total access to the facility. He can exchange it for any chips he likes, and if that isn't enough, he is welcome to top up the balance at any time. It seems the stakes here are quite high if 100,000 might not be enough, but he claims he is only here for the fun. The hostess views him as just another arrogant high roller, secretly wondering how pathetic he will look when he loses it all. A regular at the table notes his unfamiliar face, and Qingjin explains he heard of this place while out of province. He mentions he is in town on business and finally has time to play, asking if he might take a seat at the table. The players welcome him, noting that Texas Hold'em is always better with more people, and the game begins in earnest. One of the players laughs, telling Qingjin that visiting Jiang City without coming here would have been a wasted trip. He invites our protagonist to join the fun, and the game officially begins. In the first round, the small blind is 500 and the big blind is 1,000. The bets quickly rise to 3,000. A regular scoffs at Qingjin's boldness, warning the little brother not to meddle if he doesn't understand the rules. He jokes that Qingjin might lose his very trousers and find himself unable to even afford the trip back home. Qingjin sees no reason not to call, prompting the man to ask if he's brave enough to continue or if he'll fold to save time. The man tells him not to waste everyone's time, then shouts in triumph as he believes the heavens are on his side. He reveals a pair of aces and a pair of queens, asking the young man what he could possibly have to beat that. He mocks Qingjin for trying to bluff with a trash hand, only to let out a string of curses as the cards are turned. The table erupts in laughter as the man wins again, asking Qingjin if he actually knows how to play this game. He wonders aloud if the games in the other provinces are just that easy, or if Qingjin is simply out of his league. The man laughs loudly, taunting our hero and asking if he's suddenly too afraid to keep playing. The man sneered, telling him he should have admitted he was outmatched instead of acting tough. Now, those 50,000 credits weren't even enough to cover a single bet. He suggested the boy go exchange for more chips, unless, of course, he had already gambled away his entire family fortune. Refusing to believe his luck could be this bad, the young man insisted he had plenty of money left, laughing nervously to hide his desperation. The opponent praised his reckless courage, mocking the newborn calf for not fearing the tiger. He was eager to see just how much more this amateur could lose. He chuckled darkly, noting that the boy's luck seemed to have completely run out. It was a pathetic sight, really. The man slammed his cards down, 3 kings. He demanded to know what the boy could possibly have to beat that. But then he paused. With a calm smile, the young man revealed his hand, noting that it seemed to be his win this time. His opponent's face went pale. He couldn't believe it. It was a straight flush. The man stammered in disbelief, wondering how such a hand was even possible after he had been dominating the table all night. The man grumbled that luck couldn't stay with the boy forever, insisting it was finally his turn to win as he cursed under his breath. Qingjin calmly asked who he was talking to, noting that he was simply responding to whoever wouldn't stop their incessant chattering. He pointed out that in a place like Jiang City, surely he was allowed to speak if others were allowed to ramble. His opponent called him sharp-tongued. The man, now thoroughly agitated, demanded another round, refusing to believe that Qingjin could keep this streak going. Qingjin observed that the man's chips seemed to have run out, dryly asking if he planned to keep playing with empty hands. Feeling insulted, the man ordered his subordinate to fetch 200,000 more in chips immediately, determined to reclaim his pride. The man, whom we learn is named Li, told the boy not to get cocky, challenging him to a real game if he truly had the guts. He declared that whoever left the table early was a coward. Qingjin simply shrugged, noting he had no reason to fear while winning. He added that he was only worried Li would lose everything down to his trousers and run away first, which clearly hit a nerve. Once the new chips arrived, Li insisted they raise the stakes even higher, and the dealer began to distribute the next hand. The tension at the table was palpable as the game progressed, eventually reaching a critical point for a regular named Boss Wang. With Boss Wang's chips gone, Li demanded he show his hand, still refusing to believe that Qingjin's luck was anything but a fluke. He bet everything that Qingjin's hidden card couldn't possibly be another 5 to complete a 4 of a kind, but Qingjin just smiled. As the card was revealed to be exactly that 5, Boss Wong exploded, shouting that it was impossible and accusing the boy of cheating. He claimed no coincidence could allow Qin Jun to beat him 4 times by a hair. However, Qin Jun warned him to think before he spoke. He reminded the man that the cards were dealt by the house, asking if he was really questioning the integrity of the Huanghai Bay establishment. The floor manager stepped in, firmly telling Captain Wang that their games were strictly regulated and cheating was quite impossible. The manager threatened to call security if the accusations continued, leaving the frustrated man to glare at the little brat in front of him. Wang muttered that luck eventually runs out, hoping aloud that Qin Jun would still be this fortunate the next time they crossed paths. The onlookers whispered that the out-of-towner was in trouble, as Wang Li was notorious for holding a grudge and would surely seek revenge. Having lost everything, Wang Li certainly couldn't swallow his pride, but Qin Jun decided he had won enough, and it was time to stop. He figured a nice soak in the bath followed by a long sleep at the hotel sounded much better than another round. However, as he stepped outside, a group of men blocked his path, noting that the little brother had won quite a lot at Huanghai Bay. Qin Jun chuckled, saying it was all thanks to everyone's luck, but the men countered that if it was thanks to them, then surely he owed them. They suggested he show some respect by sharing the wealth, leading Qin Jun to ask if Huanghai Bay was really this shameless. He asked if they were planning a robbery. They clarified that while the establishment was one thing, they were just men in need of a loan. They asked to borrow some spending money, but Qin Jun coldly replied that he didn't have a habit of giving handouts to beggars. He told them to find someone else to borrow from, which prompted one of them to snap and call him a brat. The man warned him not to refuse their kindness, deciding that since the boy didn't know his place, he needed to be taught a lesson. Qin Jun backed away, asking what they intended to do, to which they replied they were simply going to teach him how to be a proper person. He told them to stay back, threatening to call for help if they took another step toward him. He shouted that he didn't believe a massive business like Huanghai Bay would ignore a robbery happening right at their front door. He warned them to get lost or he'd scream, but the leader simply ordered his men to grab the kid and throw him in the car. Qin Jun struggled and groaned as they overpowered him, forcing him into the waiting vehicle against his will. Inside the car, a familiar face greeted him, sneering that they had met again. Qin Jun stammered out the name Old Deng. He asked Deng what he wanted, but the man just cursed, asking if the boy truly had a death wish. Deng ordered his men to gag the boy and drive to the Jiangti seafood market, planning to deal with him properly once they arrived. It seemed the lesson was going to be far more severe than a simple lecture on manners. Once they reached their destination and the gag was removed, Deng mocked him for no longer acting like a tough guy. Qin Jun pleaded for mercy, asking brother Deng to let him go, wondering if winning a little money was really worth kidnapping him over. Deng exploded in rage, cursing and asking who on earth Qin Jun thought he was calling Old Deng. Qin Jun just shook his head, noting that Deng's brain didn't seem very sharp if he was looking for another beating right after losing his money. He called Deng a real talent in his own way, which prompted the older man to scream at his lackeys to beat the boy to death. Qin Jun wondered if Deng was dreaming, thinking a group of weaklings could actually take his money. Deng snarled that the boy was acting like a predator in disguise, but he wanted to see just how much talent the kid really had as he ordered his men to use weapons. He promised to settle any legal trouble himself as long as they finished him off, and the men, led by Li, prepared to strike. A moment later, Qin Jun stood over them, calmly asking Deng if he had any other tricks left up his sleeve. Deng, now desperate, began shouting for a big brother to help him, crying out in pain as he realized he was in over his head. He wailed that it hurt and vowed to kill the boy, though his threats sounded hollow given his current position. He began pounding on a nearby door, shouting for someone named Fathead Fish to open up, identifying himself as Brother Li. He begged the man inside to kill the boy, promising to waive 3 years of rent in exchange, a tempting offer, to be sure. He warned that if he were killed, the seafood market would get a new manager who wouldn't give out cheap rent for such a rundown stall. He painted a grim picture. Either the man would be kicked out, or his rent would double immediately. He even asked if the man would still have enough money left from selling fish to pay for his sister's tuition. The man inside, Peng Tiu, asked if the 3-year rent waiver was a lie, but Deng swore on his life it was the truth. He promised that if the boy was crippled, the rent was gone. If the boy was killed, the man would never pay rent again as long as Deng was in charge. He went as far as promising a lifetime of free rent, which was quite the desperate gamble for a man in his position. Peng Tiu finally agreed, muttering about the free rent as he prepared to step out and deal with the situation. Qin Jun watched as a massive figure emerged, looking like a midnight butcher, a hidden trump card that was, to be honest, quite unexpected. It seemed the situation had taken a turn that no one, least of all our protagonist, had seen coming. Deng spat out a command, screaming for Peng Tiu to beat the boy, to beat him to death, in fact. He promised that if the giant could cripple him, he would throw in 100,000 on top of the free rent. The massive man hesitated, stammering as he looked at Qin Jun, while Deng barked at him to stop stuttering. Peng Tiu could barely get his words out, his intimidation factor evaporating as quickly as it had appeared. Finally, he admitted he couldn't beat the boy, offering to pay his rent normally instead of fighting this monster. He told Deng to fight his own battles before turning to Qingjin, begging to know what the boy actually wanted. He pleaded for mercy, offering anything for his freedom, but Qingjin simply said he had a few questions to ask. Qingjin told him that if he answered honestly, he might consider letting him go, and offer the man accepted instantly. He asked Wang Li about a specific event 5 years ago when Old Tan was ordered to frame a young man named Qinzheng. He demanded to know why they had staged a rape charge against him, but Wang Li claimed he didn't know any Qinzheng. The man insisted he had no idea what Qinzhen was talking about, which was, to be honest, a very dangerous lie to tell. Qingjin sighed, noting that some people simply refuse to face reality until they are staring into their own coffins. He didn't want to waste any more words, giving the man 2 choices: feel the bite of a steel rebar or tell the truth. It was a simple ultimatum, and we see that the atmosphere in the market had turned chillingly cold. Seeing the man's stubbornness, Qingjin prepared to start the festivities, telling Brother Li he hoped he'd enjoy the pain. The bravado broke instantly. The man began wailing that he would talk, begging his big brother to stop. Qingjin warned him to be quick before the steel found a home in his flesh, and the man confessed it was young Master Chun. When asked if it was Chun Xiaoning of the Qin family, the man nodded frantically, confirming it was indeed him. Qingjin was baffled, as he had never even met Qin Xiaoning, leaving us to wonder what dark secret was hidden here. He demanded to know the motive. Why on earth would a man he didn't know go to such lengths to ruin his life? Qingjin then asked about Old Tan's niece, the woman he was accused of assaulting. He needed to know who she was. He demanded to know her current location, but the man stammered that there was no woman, not a single one. Qingjin felt like he was being toyed with, but the man insisted, swearing that a victim never actually existed. Apparently, young Master Qin decided they didn't need a real victim to suffer. They just needed to bribe a forensic doctor. The plan was to find a body, plant Qingjin's DNA on it, and solidify the evidence, a truly chilling level of dedication to a lie. With a few more bribes to the judge, the case was closed, and so, the truth finally began to emerge for our protagonist. It made sense now. He had no memory of any woman from the night he blacked out. Even Old Tan, a proud man, had been silent. He finally understood why no one ever came forward to testify against him in court 5 years ago. It was all a ghost story. The entire case had been fabricated from thin air. With that settled, Qingjin moved to his final, most important question. The man confessed that young Master Qin had set his sights on Qingjin's girlfriend at the time, but that wasn't all. The Chun family also wanted a piece of farmland owned by the Qin family on the outskirts of the city to build a resort. When the family refused to sell, the young master ordered a frame-up to force them into handing over the land voluntarily. It was a ruthless double play. The son wanted the girl, and the father wanted the land. A classic case of corporate greed, really. Qingjin's voice turned icy as he realized the depth of the betrayal. He promised himself he would settle this debt with interest. The man pleaded for his life, claiming he was just following orders and that everything he said was the absolute truth. He even had the nerve to blame the Qin family, calling them stubborn for refusing to sell land that held their ancestral graves. Qingjin asked what happened next. Eventually, the family sold the land to pay for lawyers and to bribe the officials for leniency. That was how Qingjin's 20-year sentence was reduced to 7. It was a heavy price to pay for a freedom that wasn't free. He then asked for Qin Xiaoning's address, and the man quickly revealed he lived in the prestigious landscape gardens downtown. We see him considering his next move, knowing that showing up unannounced might just scare the prey away before the trap is set. Besides, we see that Qingjin has other matters to attend to first, tasks that require his immediate attention. He looked at the man and reminded him that his perjury had sent him to Jiangxing prison for over 5 years. The man had even managed to become a captain in the urban management force, earning the respectful title of Wang Jun. But now that our protagonist is back, he wonders aloud exactly how he should repay such a generous favor. The man stammered in terror, finally recognizing him as Qingjin, though his appearance had changed significantly. Qingjin noted that their biggest mistake was not spending a little more money to ensure he died in that prison. Instead, his sentence was reduced, and he was released early. Wang Jun began to beg, calling him Boss Qingjin. He pleaded for his life, swearing he would never cross him again, but Qingjin reminded him that Old Tan was waiting. If he spared Wang Jun now, Old Tan would be quite lonely down there in the afterlife, wouldn't he? He then asked if Wang Jun was the one who blew up Old Tan's barbecue stall. The man was surprisingly well informed. Even though it only happened this afternoon, he already knew. Not that it matters. He'll be joining Old Tan soon enough. He remarked that since no one would burn incense for pieces of trash like them, they might be a bit poor in the next life. Wait, Wang Jun screamed, begging for mercy and offering a deal that he thought might save his skin. He offered to help deal with Qin Xiaoning, claiming to know all of the young master's darkest secrets. He was willing to bet his own life that his knowledge would be useful. To be honest, he was getting desperate. He warned that killing him would only send Qingjin back to jail, especially after he'd already crossed the evil tiger gang. Between the gang's leader and the Qin family, he claimed Qingjin wouldn't survive, but who said Qingjin was the killer? If a face can be changed, then surely fingerprints can be managed as well. The dagger already held the blood of his cohorts. With a bit of careful staging, the police would likely conclude that a violent dispute had broken out over the abandoned stalls. The official story would be that Wang Jun was simply stabbed to death by his own partner. A poetic ending, really. He turned to his companion and asked, with a touch of irony, how that particular explanation sounded to him. The group of underlings that Wang Li had brought along presented a genuine problem for our protagonist. If he eliminated them all, the situation would spiral out of control, yet letting them go would leave far too many loose ends. Allowing them to simply walk away would create a flaw in his otherwise perfect plan. He pulled out a phone and made a call, simply saying, "Doctor, it's me. I have a favor to ask." The man wondered which doctor he meant, perhaps the one from Lena prison? Qingjin merely confirmed his identity. He explained that he needed help handling a small matter, his voice calm and professional. He needed several people to lose their memories of the night. Since they were already unconscious, the task was halfway done. And so, the scene concludes with the arrival of the authorities. If you enjoyed this story, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. We appreciate your support as we continue this journey together. Sharing and supporting the channel helps us bring you more of these tales. Thank you for watching this episode, presented by the Mingjing and Diandian team. We hope to see you in the next chapter. Stay tuned for what happens next. The story of Qingjun is far from over. Brought to you by the Mingjing and Diandian program. This has been a production of the Mingjing and Diandian program.